After years of teaching yourself guitar, there is almost a 100% chance that you're making at least one of the 5 mistakes I'm about to cover in this video. And I know this because I see new students come in time and time again who have been limiting themselves for years when a few small tweaks would have opened the doors to playing freely off the bat. So I'm gonna show you what these common mistakes are and exactly what you need to do to fix them today so that you don't waste any more time not pressing on the guitar. Which brings us to mistake number 1, fretting like a fool. Now, a lot of us guitar players, hold on, I dropped my pick while I was talking. And if you don't already have your guitar in your hands, then make sure you grab it because you're gonna need it throughout the rest of this video. A lot of us guitar players, we just play guitar. Fucking crazy, I know. But we don't think about how we're playing guitar always. And a lot of times when we go to fret these notes, we're just thinking, okay, if I put my finger between the frets, I'm set. And maybe, but not necessarily. It's a lot better to make sure that your hand, your finger, is right up on that fret. Instead of being back here, right up on that fret. And this is a common mistake. I see this in players who have been playing for a year, 10 years, and even fucking 30 years. I see this in players all the time. They just don't really think about where in the fret their finger's going. And the reason this is a problem is because when your finger's back here, you need so much more tension to make it ring out. And you hear that kind of sounds almost out of tune even. But when I play it right on that fret, I don't need to push down nearly hard. I'm playing same pressure here and here. I don't need to push down that hard and it rings out a lot cleaner. Another common fretting mistake comes with our barring, right? A lot of us struggle with bar chords, right? They're kind of hard to get down. I mean, if you have them already, you might be typing in the comments like, bar chords are so easy, bro. I play them in Goon all day. And that's good for you, dude. I love that for you. But a lot of the common mistakes from bar chords just come from a poor approach of going at them. So like if I try and bar right here, we want to be able to make all 6 strings ring out just barring and play chords over top of that, which is where it gets kind of hard when we're like stretching out, right? Like that wasn't even really a good bar on me, but I also never play a chord like that. I was just waffling. But we want to make sure that our bars are coming with a good technique so that we don't get stuck. And a common mistake is pinching, really trying to pinch your bar. Like all of the pressure is between your thumb and your fingies. Trying to squeeze into that bar chord. But I find the most efficient way for me to play bar chords isn't really to squeeze. Look at this. It's a more of a pull. Pulling with the back. Like, you know the it's not a row. It's kind of a row. Or I think a row's with a barbell. But in the gym, you know, the cable pull. Oh, I just cracked my back. You kind of want to be on that. A little, but except for on your guitar. And you want to make sure you're using the side of your finger here, right up on that fret like we said. Pulling it back. It'll be easier on an electric than on an acoustic. If you're on a cheaper acoustic, your action might be really high, which means that your strings are far away from your frets and it's harder to play. Not impossible, but worth noting. That seems pretty doable. Mistake number 2 that a lot of self-taught guitar players make is skipping the sauce. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, a lot of us pick up guitar and we just want to learn our favorite songs. And frankly, I think that's awesome. We should be able to play our favorite songs, right? But something we skip over is understanding why these songs and these chords and these shapes are built how they are and how we can play the same things all over the neck. Because that's really what builds the foundation for understanding what you're doing and being comfortable making more things your own style, or even playing things in their own style, but just way more easily. And there's a lot of scale shapes and chord shapes to learn, so it feels almost impossible to break out of this mistake of not having your basics nailed all over the fretboard. But all it really takes is committing to one thing and learning it and then moving on. And it sounds kind of dumb easy when you say it like that, like, oh, so I just pick one thing and then do it. But you might know the major scale kind of, but most guitar players don't know the major scale even in a way where they can play it all the way up the fretboard, like every single shape, like, right? Most guitar players can't do that all the way up the fretboard, and even if they can, most of the ones who can still can't really use it functionally. So Step one, obviously, is being able to play it. Like, I seriously mean this with all of my heart. Being able to play the major scale across the whole fretboard and being able to play triads across the whole fretboard is only 2 things. And it's a big task, getting both of those down. I'm not even gonna say it's easy or anything like that, but it's only 2 things. It's only 2 things you have to learn, and then you can start to piece them together. And for me, a lot of the playing I do where I get off stage and people are going like, damn, dude, like, how the fuck were you even doing that? I'm up there thinking like, oh, I'm just playing the notes that are already in the song. That's really it. So if you can more easily perceive those, you can do that a lot easier. And when we skip over the sauce and don't think about how we can play what we're playing all over the neck, we lose that ability. Now, the best way to really get your scales down though, and this is some real insider knowledge, isn't just to play up your scale, right? That's what everybody does, and like I said, most players aren't comfortable playing in their scales. What we want to do is find a different way we can break apart the scale so that our hands get it down better and our head gets it down better. And I found a really powerful way to do this that's worked for me and for my students is playing the scale in thirds. Now, what does that mean? I don't know if you actually said that. I can't hear you. I'm talking to my phone, dead ass. But what that means is you play the first note and then you skip the second note and go to the third note, playing in thirds. 1, 3. Now, as we go up, it's 2, 4, right? But the reason we say playing in thirds is because we're playing that third interval, which is the space between 2 notes. We're playing that third interval of every note. So we play the first note in the scale and then its third interval. And then the second note in the scale and then its third interval. And functionally, you can think about it also like skipping a note and then coming back. So if our regular scale is like this, we skip a note, come back to it, 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 skip a note, come back to it. If I can do it and say all that, you can figure it out. I really mean that. So what we want to do is play that up and down over and over and over again. And this is really what's going to get your hands comfortable moving around and really nail that scale. And once you can do it like that, with a metronome, with your eyes closed, and you're blindfolded with handcuffs around your feet, then you can start moving it up the neck and learning it everywhere. And by the way, mistakes 4 and 5 really tie back into this, so make sure you stay until the very end so you can make a real difference in your playing today. Mistake number 3 is slowing down your learning. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, a lot of guitar players come in to learn guitar, and like I said previously in this video, we'll just learn songs. And in learning songs, they'll learn their open chords, and they'll learn some bar chords. And after having about that set of shapes down, maybe a few more open chords in there, right? They kind of stop learning new things. And there's a lot of players that will do this. I know players that do this. If they are looking at a chord chart, for example, they'll just ignore, like if a chord has a number on it, they'll just ignore that. They'll be like, oh, D flat 13, so I'll just play like a little. But like, does that sound like? No, it doesn't. Because guitar is a limitless thing. So don't assume that just because you have these basic shapes down that you like know how to play already. And if you aren't doing that, that's great. But it's a common mistake that players will kind of halt their learning after they get some of the basic ideas down because they don't know what to learn next. But in the age of internet that we live in, it is super possible for you to figure out what you can learn next just by yourself, honestly. I know it's hard to pick one thing to learn, but guitar is one of those things where there's so many things to learn that you have to just pick one or 1 or 2 things to kind of work on. And I think it's good to kind of self-analyze your playing and say like, what am I missing and what do I want to get better at? And also acknowledge that maybe you're not always going to be chasing a new thing every single day, but you know when you are and when you're not. Like, I have so many times or so many days, so many months, so many years where I wasn't actively chasing new things. Even now in my playing, honestly, I am chasing some new techniques, I would say. I've been working on some fingerstyle things in my playing, but it's not at the forefront of my attention to like become the best guitar player ever right now. I'm kind of trying to figure out everything collectively, and playing guitar is just like a part of it. So I think it's okay to acknowledge that you're not always pushing for that, but it's important to know that it's a choice and that you can do it at any time. So the way to really get over this mistake is to take full ownership of where you're at in your guitar playing. Like, if you're not happy with your level on the guitar, ask yourself why a few times. You know, get the answer to why you're not happy. Ask yourself, well, why that? Well, why that? Why that? Like you're a little fucking toddler. Why? 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 But really, like, if you're not happy with your playing, and you know why you're not happy with your playing, you then know what you need to work on, and it becomes your choice to become happy with your playing. Because your guitar playing is, it's a direct, or how do I want to say this? Your guitar playing is all the time you've spent on guitar combined up till right now. It is. So if you can't, you know, shred all over the neck, it's because you haven't spent time playing all over the neck. And there's a lot of things I can't play because I haven't spent time playing them. Like if you said like, Braden, play a hepsaleka glockic scale, dude, I would start crying, okay? I don't even know what that is, I just made it up. But the idea is, there are a lot of things I can't play. Like, you know, I'm not super comfortable with like fucking negative harmony. I barely know what that is. And I can't do a lot of modal interchange things, but I don't know all of the borrowed chords off the dome and like what modes they come from. So it's good to know that. It's good to know what you don't know and what you could learn when you're shooting to get better. And I think that mentality of just owning where you're at is really what helps you get over this mistake. And if you really are committed to playing every single day, I have something special for you. A private community only for players that have been playing for over a year and actually play every single day, where I give you free information on how you can play all over the fretboard, and we do live calls in there so you can come in and ask me questions directly, which, let's be honest, I've said a lot in this video. I'm sure you have a question about something. You can come in there, you can ask me to my damn face, and I'll tell you what's good, okay? I've been doing a lot of practice of answering questions, and I'm looking forward to answering your questions in there. So, hop in that free community, linked right down below. I don't even know if I said that yet. It's free, by the way. Second link in the description, and as long as you've been playing for over a year and you play guitar pretty consistently, I'll let you in there and I'll help you out. Mistake number 4 is not thinking in intervals. Now, an interval is just the space between notes. So if I play this note and then this note, and we want to know how far away they are, that's an interval. That example is an octave, which means it's the same note, but in 2 different ranges. The reason intervals are so important is because they build everything. Every chord, every scale, right? We can decode all of them with intervals, and if we understand these intervals, we can use them everywhere on the neck. If I know that my G chord has a 1, 3, and a 5, and to make a major 7, I just have to add the major 7, I can do that anywhere on the neck, as long as I know where my intervals are. That's the reason they're so powerful. But let's slow it down a little bit. We want to be able to break down these basic chords in one spot before we start moving around too much. So if we go back to our G major scale from earlier, where we were playing those thirds, like I said, the third is an interval, that root and that third. So to build a chord, we just need that root, that third, and the 5th note of the scale. And it just repeats over and over again. So that was 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, 5, 3, 1, 5, 3, 1. I had a little brain fart there. And that's how every chord is built, by the way. So our major chords are 1, 3, 5, like I said. So here's an example of a little G chord. You know, it's right there. Thank you, Yin Ming. And then an example of a G minor chord, we only have to change one note. So we have our 1, 3, and our 5. To make it a minor chord, we just have to flat that third. So then we have 1, flat, 3, 5. And if you want to break out of this mistake of not thinking in intervals so that you can obtain the abilities like I was doing earlier of kind of moving around and playing those chords everywhere, it just takes more actively thinking about it in the things you play. If you made it this far into this video, I know you play guitar already, right? Like somebody who just picked up guitar, they would have fucking left so long ago. This shit would not have made any sense. Let's be honest, right? It wouldn't. So that means you probably already know at least a handful of songs. If you don't know any whole songs, what the fuck are you doing? right? How long have you been playing guitar? But you probably at least know parts of songs. So take what you already know and think about it in these intervals. So if you know a chord progression that's like a little D, C, G, ask yourself where each interval in each of those chords is. In our D, it would be 1, 5, 1, 3. C would be 1, 3, 5, 1, 3. And our G would be 1, 3, 5, 1, 5, 1. Bada bing, bada boom, right? And that might not feel that important when you're just like breaking apart shit you already know, because you're like, I already know it. But when it comes time to, you know, play those same things higher up on the neck, and you're moving these chords around, like say I have something that's like a D, D major 7, D dominant 7, G major 7. I would really like to know where the intervals are so I can play that somewhere else, like a little D, D major 7, D dominant 7, G major 7. Or say I want to play it, well, up here would kind of be the same shapes. I feel like that's cheating. Where was I playing it? I think I played it down here. I could do like D, D major 7, D dominant 7, and I could do like, or G major 7 like that. I kind of waffled it. And it's not just important for like playing chords, but for soloing. Thinking in intervals helps you move around a lot more easily, because if you know which intervals, or more so where the intervals of the chords you're playing over are, you can approach them and use extensions knowing already that it's a good note to fall in the chord. Like if I'm playing over a progression that's G, and then like F, and then C, right? Like a little G, F, C. Yo, I think I have a song that does that, but you don't know it. Then knowing where the intervals in those chords are is going to make it possible to come up here and say G, F, C, and not only do that, but say, well, what extension notes could I put on those chords? Like on that G, that little lick right there, that's the dominant 7 in the chord. And then I'm coming into my F, and I can do like a major 7. Then we go into C, and we can do like the major 7 and the 6. And it's not, I want to say, you don't have to think about the intervals every single time you pick up the guitar. But spending more time actively doing it is going to make it so you can do it more on the fly, like how you're seeing me do right now. And then you can use it as a tool in your improvising instead of as like a fucking homework, right? So that's why it's so powerful, and that's how you break out of this mistake. And there's a lot of great info on these intervals in the free community I was just talking about. So if this is sounding like something you want, it's in that second link right down below, and I'll see you in there. I really will. I'll message you within 5 minutes of me approving you. I think I'll message you. Hopefully. One can only hope. Maybe I'll be sleeping. Well, I can't sleep and approve you though, right? Maybe I can. Who knows? And that brings us to our final mistake, which is mistake number 5, playing instead of practicing. Now, that might sound a little confusing at first, like playing, practicing, isn't that the same thing? And I'm here to say that it's not. I believe playing is when you are playing songs or writing songs and trying to make things that sound musical, things that sound good, and you're really focused on playing, right? Practicing is when you slow down and you're trying to nail specific concepts, like running your scales, or like breaking down the intervals of a chord. All of these things are practicing because you're not really trying to be musical. You're trying to wrap your head around the music and wrap your hands around the music in a more active sense. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I probably spent 5 whole years playing and not practicing. So I get it, right? I really do. And I've learned now how to practice more effectively. And if you really want to start practicing right, check out this video right here, and I'll make sure you get off YouTube with a clear plan on how you're gonna get better today. Time again, making, dude, that have been limiting, that have been, dude, I need to start a beat. That have been